Shooting around. Oh, we got three on Zoom here. Glenn White, Tom Phoenix, and Grant Pappy Lewis.
Thank you. Rick, do we have any birthdays?
I think we do. Excuse me, I was just listening to hear some very interesting stuff. Where's unprepared?
Welcome back, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Got it all together, run in late, all that stuff too. Good morning, Gay City. Let's see, thank you. We have some club anniversaries, birthdays, and party birthdays today. Club anniversaries, I know Danielle is here, is there, and you have an anniversary today. The two means count them up. Yeah. The two big ones, Doug. And Steve Works. Okay, and let's see, we have some birthdays. Robert Drill. And yeah, that was on the 11th. Happy birthday to you. And let's see, coming up at the end of the week is David Graves here. He's out gathering, I'm sure. See David on 15th, be Friday. Give him a happy birthday. And John Dawson. All right, he's coming on the 17th.
He did a makeup last night.
Oh, did he?
5:05, I saw pictures.
Yeah, well, he's ready to go. Wish you happy birthday. All right, now, partner birthdays. Tony, your bride has a birthday coming up. Also on Tuesday. Yeah. Don't forget that one. Yeah, and my girlfriend, 50-something years, she has a birthday today. Oh, my God. All right. I'm glad I do this report. Let's see, no wedding anniversaries this week, but we do have some heads up for some of you people. Buster Lewis, I hope you are ready. You've got an anniversary coming up next week. No excuse for forgetting about it. And on our heads up alert, Howard Riggers and Christine are having a wedding anniversary week after too. So,
Awesome.
President, that does it for the day.
Thank you. Who's doing happy dollars? Is it Buster or Bobby?
What?
Bobby.
Happy dollars. Buster, you got one? No.
Well, I do have one. I'll so I was trying to one up Bobby and Tom Richardson fishing. So I went on this annual fishing trip I go on every year, and we just had this banner day, man. We caught fish, puppy drum, mackerel. So we're coming back to the dock, and the cooler hinges were broken, and I lifted the cooler up on the dock, and it slid back, and all the fish fell in the water and dropped to the bottom like a rock. So it was quite the exciting day. And then my wife was mad at me because I didn't dive in and get them. But anyway.
Talk about the one that got away. Dr. Guy.
This is for everybody coming out and enjoying the event at my house this weekend. We had a good time. Probably had roughly 50 people, maybe a little more. So my family had a great time. I'm sure all of y'all had a good time. It looks like everybody did anyway. Based on the number of trash bags, usually you can tell how good a party is. And we got to about 8. So just want to let y'all know we had a good party. Thanks for coming out. And Buster, that's a fish story if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. I would just like to piggyback on what Guy said. Thanks to Guy and Carrie for hosting us. It was a fabulous evening, and all the food was great. So thanks for the cook team for coming out. Everybody that brought dishes. If you missed it, you missed a great time. And the weather was, I think, perfect for barbecue. And so I think it was a great test cook for the competition on November 6th. And the other happy dollar is for Danielle for hosting all the 505s and the scavenger hunt last night. I couldn't make it, but I think y'all had a good time.
Wayne.
Well, my happy dollar is that North Carolina finally achieved 70% vaccination. On our way.
We got a couple of $100. So Mylan wasn't able to come this morning, but today is the last day he's not going to be. Like tomorrow is officially a teenager. So the last of- I know.
Tomorrow.
Oh, it's already changed. I got a call from somebody else. But tomorrow is his birthday. He's gonna be 13, and my oldest sister is driving in today. We're spending some time together because every year she comes in and celebrates his birthday. So we've got 5 cousins on the way, and we're gonna have some fun this weekend.
All right. That passes. Prosperous table.
Great table to be at always. Well, I hated to miss the meal last weekend, but we took off over Elvis's fall break to New England for a couple of days. You know how those, if you've ever seen those train set layouts or the television commercials that where there's an autumn setting and the oranges, the yellows, the trees just look a little too perfect and bright, and just popping. Well, that's how it looked in real life last weekend. It was amazing. We were in Vermont and New Hampshire, and it was just an incredible time up there, all too brief, but it's great to sort of get back and forth, so that everybody was masked and vaccinated at the appropriate venues where we went to, but there were no shortage of tourists, unlike last year, when, you know, those states pretty much shut down interlopers from other jurisdictions while they were dealing with the disease themselves. But it was a great weekend just to get away, and a great time, and my daughter go up and join us, so it was nice.
All right. Rick, hey, you take credit. No, promise I'll tell you. Your word is good. Yeah, I've been good. Yeah, I got a few of them. Put me down for 10. Okay. One, the Levandos were hosting everybody. This is the second time they've done that. What a mess it makes of the house. No, those you think about doing it. No, really, it's above and beyond the call. They hosted very nicely. And I know we helped clean up and we leave, there's still a huge mess. Thank you, Dr. Guy. The lovely bride. It was great. Thanks for all the cook teams that did what they did. Thanks for everybody that came out. How many of them did? You still got to do right. And just look forward to the competition here, and everybody should be back in again, and this turn out some winning stuff again. And I would have a heavy dollar for Dr. Robondo here who hosted this, except he got a brand new tractor and he would not let me drive that. So here goes your dollar, Dr. Robondo. Where?
Jill ready.
I got a picture of Jill sitting on that tractor. Now
There you go.
well, Grandpappy communication, and in line with Buster's fishing story and the fact that it's red drum season, communication to Grandmammy is the open and intimate sharing of one's feelings. And for Grandpappy, it's leaving a note on the table to tell her you've gone to the beach fishing with the guys.
Funny. Is it football time?
Football time. Football time in America. All right, everybody. Thanks for participating. I think this past week we had our largest participation. And I once again had a game in there that didn't exist. And you'll see when you go like sheets this week, I have a game in there twice. So good luck with you twice. Yeah, you get a chance to win twice. The game that didn't exist, they didn't count. So we will start. I'll tell you, so out of possible 34 points, we had 6 entries that got over 20 points. Really good. The winning, or the number 1, got 26 points. And fortunately from number 2, number 1's not here. And that was Matthew. So number 2 got 24 points, and that is Judge Castle.
Wow.
Wow. a plastic coffee cup or a crappy old blue mineral.
We'll say that after next time.
Okay, very good.
Hey, wow.
All right. And then, I'm sorry that was for last place. I always feel bad when the person finished last, but I feel like maybe he was tired, didn't have enough rest, or let 4-year-olds go out there. So everybody, keep on the table. If you need more, there's several on the empty table. But thanks for participating. That's it.
Thank you. Couple of announcements. There's a sign-up sheet on the table that guy brought this morning for pig stock. So if you intend to, you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. So there is a descriptive sheet and a sign-up sheet. The tickets are $40 with food and alcohol, $30 food and tea, and then children under 12 are free. So if we do it as a club, instead of buying them online, they save money. So what we're doing to help the fundraiser is we're going to do sign-ups, and then you'll get billed through the club. So if you want tickets, sign up, you'll get billed, I'm sure by Dale around the time of the event, the month of the event, or after the event, whatever. But please fill them out, and please come out so we can get lots of support and win people's choice. That's my second motivation beyond the fundraising, is to get y'all to come out and spend money so I can win. So help me out.
On the stop, I think Cookie and Dan are still looking for volunteers to either pour beer, work at registration desk. So if you're interested, let me know or reach out directly to Dan or Cookie. Because they still need some volunteers to help. Our district governor visits on November the 11th. So please mark your calendars to be here for that. And the foundation banquet is Saturday the 13th. So it's always a fun time. So I think you should have gotten an email or invite in your inbox this week. And are there any other announcements?
Lisa, how many people have signed up for that event now, you know?
Or what I mean?
For the district foundation bank?
I don't know, because it comes to you directly, so I don't have that. I don't have that.
I'm planning on going.
Yeah, I'm going just out of curiosity.
I have a late $50. I'll make this as a $50 announcement. You know, our newest member of the club is East Latoa, and I want to give a $50 for them. They're having their season, the Swarm. They kick off November 5th, which is the night we're going to start cooking. So I'm certain I won't be able to attend. I am buying tickets. I have season tickets. So if anybody wants the tickets, let me know and I'll give them to you. But please support their team. It's good for Greensboro. It's good for our club, having the president in our club. So who's questioning it?
Yeah, one of the things we're thinking about doing this fall is having a Rotary night and going to a family night, going to one of the Swarm games. So looking at
Good quality basketball.
right, fun time. Okay, Tom.
See how everybody moved his back. It's my pleasure to introduce Lauren Hall. We have, I think it's a fascinating subject. She's a consulting hypnotist and a performance mental coach. She's trained in hypnosis, hypno-raving, I'm not sure what that is, hypno-birthing, virtual gastric fan, many behavioral and mental influencing techniques. But her business is modern day hypnosis. She brings the ancient modalities of hypnosis and other time-tested psychophysio processes into your everyday life. So a lot of P's in that sentence. But she's going to come up, and she didn't even tell me what she's going to do, but she teaches you to be your own hypnotist. So come on up, Lauren.
Thank you so much for having me. My name's Lauren. I'll likely walk around. I will not hypnotize you without permission. So please do not be afraid of eye contact. Hypnosis is not only something I'm doing. You already have done some hypnosis with me. It's suggestions, come in, have breakfast, have a seat. I could have resisted those suggestions, but I want to be here. So when I'm working with people, it's my intention to demystify hypnosis because there's so many stigmas. There's so many expectations that I've got to pull out a pendulum. I could have brought a pendulum, but I usually keep those for kids. I've done those at some stage shows, but people have so much fear, they probably think I've got some dark magic that I'm doing to get this ball to move. It's a micro movement. We are always moving. If you are still for 14 minutes or more, you're going to fall asleep. So don't fall asleep just yet. I'll do a demonstration at the end. If you fall asleep and snore, I will make sure you wake back up. Hypnotic rest is even more restorative than REM sleep. My intentions today, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Is to explain hypnosis to the best of my ability. I've been doing this about 10 years. Hypnosis is thousands of years old, and we still don't understand how to explain it. It's if the eyes don't see themselves. The mind would have a hard time understanding how the mind can be influenced with suggestions to make change when we try consciously all the time to influence ourselves through change with repercussions or rewards. And I'm going to do that demonstration. We can ask, questions. You can ask questions anytime if you want me to really explain something further, because I'm so passionate in demystifying it. I find the easiest way is to bring in some client stories, because I could share fact after fact after fact, but you're probably going to think, well, I don't know if that would work for me. I don't know if that really could, after a conversation, change some habit that I've been grappling with for 40 years. Because hypnosis is documented even by American and British medical associations as the #1 modality for the quickest behavioral change. Usually it's a last resort, and I don't mean only because it falls in that alternative woo-woo category, but the last resort because once people come to work with a hypnotist, they usually get what it is that they're looking for, and they aren't looking for it any longer. I love that when somebody said you stop looking for something when you find it. You're looking for your keys and you stop looking after you find them. They're in the last place that you look. Hypnosis is that last thing, but it changes the brain in such a subtle way that you're still thinking, I don't know if the hypnosis works. I don't know. I have clients tell me this all the time. I don't know if you hypnotized me, because they probably expected that hypnosis was some sort of mind control where they would be unconscious, they would forget everything that I've said, that they would bark like a dog. I get asked that all the time. I'm going to quack like a chicken. I'm like, this isn't your goal. So I don't know why you would do that. So people are really amazed at coming in, having this conversation, and not feeling like anything they'd expected. And they're still waiting for probably that trance statement, you're now a non-smoker, you're going to stay a non-smoker the rest of your life. And they think this is some mantra they're going to have to recite, or some old cassette they're going to have to listen to, 24 times before it works. It's really just reframing how it is that they were trying to stop something they felt pleasurable about. So they're trying to move towards pain, so you get this elusive pleasure state. Now, what I find really, really fascinating is people that I've worked with for physiological change. Now, we know the brain is running the whole story, but how is it that through a conversation, we can get something like headaches to stop? I'm not a medical practitioner. I don't have medical training. I'm not licensed as a therapist or a doctor. So I would never make any sort of claim that I could cure or treat or diagnose some sort of ailment. I'm working with the subconscious to change some of the imagery around. We usually think about imagery as our story, but it's that emotional context of what the 5 senses experience. When I say the word warm, usually that's enduring, sweet, maybe calming. For some people, warm might start to fall into that energizing category. So it's imagery like that that can really shift some of that problem story around. When I've worked with people to stop habits like binge eating, it's interesting where all of this stress has come in and they're no longer sleeping. They don't feel assertive or focused at work, and they usually have a lot of forgetfulness. So they've come in for weight loss, but I'm working with stress. So once the stress story is shifted, there's so much compounding positive effect in their life, but still hypnosis isn't getting the credit. I don't need the credit, but I would love for this ancient modality to get its rightful place on that forefront. It could be the first attempt for anything because there are no negative side effects. When you suggest that I come in, I'm here now and I'm enjoying it. This is a really great group. You're participating in a lot of amazing missions. You have great camaraderie. It's a lot of fun. I could have resisted and gone about my day. It still would have been a really great day. So it's nothing that anybody would lose, but you can have amazing benefits that change your life. Now, has anybody in here been hypnotized? Perfect.
They teach it at my dental school as a behavioral control for anxiety to help people get numb, stay calm.
Mhm.
I don't know if they.
And you're a dentist, right?
Yeah.
Hypnotizes you and it takes all your.
Let me have
I'm not volunteering you for a subject or anything. It's just to bring it into how accessible hypnosis is, especially here in the Southeast region. You know, in London, out west, up north, like it's really gotten its rightful place because we are finding so many people have a slew of ailments that seem connected, but they're not finding any immediate and lasting relief. When I'm hypnotizing somebody, it's really de-hypnotizing all of that other programming that's come into the picture. Now, because it's all in the subconscious, to me, I think there's so many other modalities that I would classify as hypnotism. And so that's why I like to just brand it right at the source of what I'm doing. Personal development is exploding, right? Tony Robbins is done an amazing job bringing the art of language patterns and communication, you know, into the subconscious to really prove that you can make change just through where you focus your brain. Now, NLP, which is what Tony Robbins has really brought into the forefront, is based on hypnosis. So many of the psychologies, you know, even Freud started in hypnosis. So I really would love if anything that you hear from me today is a new consideration on what hypnotism is, different than the stage antics, because it's been a therapy for thousands of years. It's been in the stage arena a couple of 100 years. And that was only because medical doctors were finding so much success and they wanted to demonstrate that to everybody. And so they would bring some subjects on and demonstrate how suggestible you can have someone believe that they were in the freezing cold or that they had turned into some sort of animal. And of course that became entertaining. And then we just sort of segued into thinking hypnosis is only something for weak-minded or suggestible people. It's actually more effective to hypnotize intelligent people because intelligent people are more readily in that alpha brainwave state. They don't exhaust all the mental power by staying in the beta analytical. So there's a lot of engineers that I've worked with or, you know, the military, anybody that's capable of juggling imaginary ideas and following instructions. Now, I would like to give a demonstration. Some people have resistance to this. So if you would like to just observe the demonstration, you are completely free to resist my suggestions. If you want to experience that state, let me also disclaim that it's not like here we are now and here's where you'll be after I've hypnotized you. You're always going like this. The conscious mind is jumping in and out of focus because it takes, you know, so much power. It's the subconscious, which I'm talking to, and that part is always here. It's always noticing the air, the traffic, any sort of, what do they say, billions of bits. I don't know who's counted that, but it's a lot of information. So it's certainly going to hear my suggestions, and because they're all going to be beneficial for you. There's nothing I'm going to do today to hypnotize you to, bark or quack or anything like that. It's more about getting this sense of letting go of the story that doesn't serve you and really being delusional about one that would. Because the future, of course, is a delusion for all of us. I'm sure people immediately link me into card reading and psychic and all of that. Got a lot of engineers in my family. I'd say I'm really middle of the road. I was just curious, and the data that I was reading about this seemed impossible. I thought, no way, if this is really, really how it works, everybody would be talking about this and everybody would be doing this. But I can tell you, I've worked with over 1,000 people, and 80% were achieving goals. Well, I'm saying I have a very high success rate on what the goal is, as long as you're willing to work just a couple of times with me. It's a very fast change. There's not anybody that I'm working with over 6 months or anything. But you're going to, well, now I forgot where I was going to finish my statement. Okay. Let's do a demonstration. Bring your awareness onto your feet. If you'd like to close your eyes and just notice what you're noticing. Any expectation for the future, see if you could pause that. And as you detach from the future and release the past, you start to bring more physical awareness into your body, that under the neck section of your body. The brain is the 10% of the mind that we're using. Find that other 90% of your awareness. Notice if you have any tension. And just gently, by bringing your awareness to that tension, the body prefers ease. That's why we always start with these eyes, relaxing the eyes, because the eyes take so much effort to keep open. Relax all of the effort, even any effort of listening or understanding me. You're just breathing and your heart is beating automatically. And you are appreciating that you have these functions that support you in the body. And as you pour in that good feeling of appreciation, notice if it's warm, feel how soft it might feel. Perhaps you could experience circulation through the body. You really can burn excess calories. You can metabolize. You can metabolize old stories, old worries, fears. All of us have a place in here in our body of confidence. Feel that state of confidence in your body and let it start to expand. You can perhaps picture a color for your confidence, a shape, pattern, size. Visualize that confidence starting to grow. Maybe it grows so big it starts to surround your body or certain parts of the body. And it's pulsing. Imagine it's pulsing. Just pretend, just let it happen. You want this to happen. You know that more confidence is going to help your day and your life. Just enjoy this experience, this imaginative support. Imagine you could send confidence out to a situation, even past situations. And the subconscious, all of that story of your life is experienced in the now time. And right now, I want you to find you've got the ability to release tension, to relax stress, to breathe in some of that refreshing confidence. Picture yourself on the top of a mountain, beautiful, imaginative scene, and everything around you could be pouring even more support, and that confidence starts to expand out through space, and you can even send it into other places. Share this with other people, the other people around you right now. Imagine that your confidence and theirs is just compounding and getting bigger, and you're relaxing deeper and it's getting bigger and you're feeling better, and your heart's starting to smile. And your heart, it is that now brain. It is always in the now time. And we're going to train that heart to just say yes. And now behind the eyelids, move your eyes to spell out that word Y-E-S. Just moving the eyes a couple of times, up and down, side to side. And now you can move the eyes side to side behind the eyelids and keep breathing. Most of us hold our breath when we're doing this eye movement, just breathing and moving the eyes, and take 3 deep, deep, energizing breaths, and then open up your eyes and feel wonderful. Now, I'm not sure if anyone was waiting for it to begin. That technique is progressive relaxation. Imagine me doing that for 20 or 30 minutes. You wouldn't help but come into that state of peace or sleepiness. You might just drift off from boredom. That's what I want your conscious mind to do, to get out of the way so that I can work in the subconscious, which is so ready for change. It's actually your brain changing all the time. This term, neuroplasticity, this idea that our minds are plastic and our neurons are always firing, taking in information. Now we have a confirmation bias, and there's studies that they've done. If you think you are a lucky person, you will be confirmed with signs that prove you are a lucky person. If you think you are unlucky, if you think that you are going to not have a good outcome or experience, it's not that you manifested that to happen. It's that you've already experienced it in your brain. And because our brains are a bit lazy, they act out what you've already shown it is safe. It just wants to survive. I want you to thrive, which is why I really want hypnotism to stand in the forefront, because I know the people I've worked with have gotten so much interesting success. And hypnosis is a very ancient modality. When we really look at some of the roots of hypnotism, and of course there are some alternative modalities that I've partnered with, we can see that so many leaders and shakers of the past, even a lot of the elite today, athletes, people that are really inspired by their unconscious ideas, are using techniques like hypnotism. The medical journals that I was reading, because I was obsessed with personal development, I thought, wow, that's really, really interesting. I'll probably study hypnosis at some point later because it seems a little weird. But when I read about Nikola Tesla using hypnotism to open up his mind, to conceptualize how to harness energy, I thought, wow, I really want to open my mind up to some big things. So I would say for the 10 years I've been in business, I've really been in the lab, just practicing these things that I come across. And that's why I'm sort of a catch-all. Most hypnotists, I think, start specializing. They want to work with weight loss, or they want to work with childbirth. The hypno waving is like a trauma release, EMDR-like technique. I've just tried, not all of it, but I'll say so much of it because I just had to see, can this stuff really work? When I've gone to some conventions, there are people who are doing a lot of research, to document the research and to bring in, the factual case studies. That is a lot of extra work. There's people that I've worked with alongside their doctors, and we have done sessions that then have gone later into change the blood work, which to me, is where the health of the body is. So I always bring it back to the heart. So in my office, I'm using Heart Map, which is a device of biofeedback. So it's not doing anything to the body. it's just bringing you awareness, what's happening in the body, because like I said, you can only feel that one way at a time. So you can empty your brain from anything that it is that I've said. I just want your heart to feel happy. I'm really happy and grateful that you allowed me to come and talk about hypnotism, and you all participated so perfectly. And I'm very happy to answer any questions or explain more about what what it is that I'm doing. Yes.
I'm not a smoker, but I have a lot of patients that smoke. What's your success rate with smoking cessation?
So I have not a guarantee, but 3 sessions. And then if you're still smoking, we're going to work indefinitely without you paying me until you quit. And so I've got 100% success rate with that. And anybody that stopped that program, to me, shows me they weren't motivated. You know?
Do you report that to some other organization that says hypnotists have this success rate across the country? Or do you, is it just, I mean, if you say hypnosis is 90% effective,
Right.
where do they get those stats from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with smoking, it said 85% success in 1 to 3 sessions, or 94% in 3 to 6 sessions. But I don't know where the data has come from. I know the Mayo Clinic initially was started as a way to bring credibility and validation for hypnotism, but now they don't accept hypnosis results. So yeah.
Have you ever used hypnotism for grief?
Mhm.
And how is that? Explain that.
The easiest way to get clarification of are we achieving the goal is to define the goal. And with grief, the goal is a little elusive, but the process is usually, how is this affecting your everyday life, and how are you carrying this experience in your body? And let's shift that. Let's maybe give you a sense of connection, to what you're grieving, so that you can feel some peace and some closure.
How about like the drugs, alcohol addiction, similar to smoking?
We're also addicted to anything, right? Especially the phones, kids. It's really about what next would you choose as your coping mechanism, right? If drugs or alcohol are coping mechanism, or if you're using them for self-abuse, where is it that this depression is weighing you down? And let's get you shifted away from this identity and start creating a new sense of self. Bill W., it said, had started, in hypnotism. And so it's a one day at a time. Who are you today? Who do you choose to be? Does that answer?
Have you ever thought about working with politicians?
There's no willingness to change.
And follow instructions. Yeah.
When are you joining Gate City Rotary?
Great question. Wednesday, next week? Yeah.
Come back.
Could you talk a bit about interplay with hypnosis and memory? Dealing with people who either have remembered something wrong, or they repressed the memory, or
Yeah.
they need something that what we're talking about to get through to understand themselves better as they move forward. And the impact and benefits of this of hypnosis with that.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. First, let me talk on forensic hypnosis, because that's where I thought you were going with this question, because people will think about hypnosis as an opportunity for hyperamnesia, which sounds like super forgetful, but it actually means specific awareness. Say 20 years ago, you had a vacation, remembering all the details as though you've re-experienced that trip now. In the subconscious, it's all a story. So there's a show on Netflix called The Mind Explained, and I think they did a great job in episode 1 talking about the memory. Think about high emotional events like 9/11. We experience what we experienced on that day, but then our subconscious starts to play the telephone game. And every time we re-experience that memory, some of the details change. So much so that Harvard did a study, and 10 years after that event, people had journaled every year where they were and what they were doing. And after 10 years, people's memories, what they believed, without a doubt for fact, was completely different. So it's a little unnerving perhaps to think our memories aren't solid, but that's where the opportunity is. Because if you have memories that aren't serving you, you could use modalities like hypnosis, which, self-hypnosis, to me, it's all self-hypnosis. So you don't need a professional, maybe a little bit of education of how to do it. You are changing your memories already. So using, some intention to do that could really be empowering. Now, I'd said no negative side effects, but regression with hypnosis is a sensitive subject because you can imprint false memories. Of course, this is what we're doing, for powerful positive effect, but an untrained therapist could go in and ask leading questions, which could, of course, instill something that isn't best serving. So, it's always appropriate for any practitioner to do a client-centered approach. And I find that regression can be effective, but you can do so much with the subconscious story now. Is that, I can talk more on, thank you.
I got a question about this versus transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
What I experienced in this exercise, we talk about the warmth below the neck. And I could feel that warmth in the chest. That was, when I do transcendental meditation, I get that same sensation. Is there a similarity going on
I would say similar. And, if you had a dozen hypnotists, which would be amazing, you heard a lot about hypnosis, they would say different things about hypnosis and meditation are the same. Hypnosis and meditation are completely different. I'll say similar. To me, meditation, you are getting into a state. Hypnosis, I was using a state, to offer suggestions. I could offer suggestions in conversation, but I find that the conscious mind, eventually will fatigue or get bored or participate and enjoy. But that way I don't have as much resistance. So it feels similar. I have some people that I've worked with who are very dedicated, serious meditators, and they'll usually say in that first session that it's something like they've never felt, just because of a depth of relaxation. And to me, the sweet spot is getting someone into that halfway asleep, halfway awake. It's called the reverie state. Sometimes people will fall all the way asleep. And to me, that's not the meditative state. The meditative state is when you've got a little bit of that alpha and theta brain state happening at the same time.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Do you think the placebo effect is like validation that hypnosis is effective or works?
I wish that it were conclusive like that, but the brain is still quite theoretical. So there was a documentary on hypnosis that I saw on BBC. So this is where I got this information. And they did an MRI study and showed that when the placebo is lit up, it's this part of the brain, and in hypnosis, it's this part of the brain. So it's both in the prefrontal cortex, but they were shocked that it wasn't the same part of the brain. I might think, if I had to theorize, that the placebo is the receptor and the hypnotic state is the perceiver. So you have a perception and then you receive that perception, and then the brain follows suit of the instruction.
Well, frontal cortex is the inhibitory part of the brain. Like it suppresses the more primitive parts. I have a degree in psychology. I mean, when the frontal cortex malfunctions, people impulsively act out without control. So the frontal cortex basically controls the more primitive parts of the brain. So, that makes sense. It's imposing that control in the neurologically, it's reciprocal feedback, right? So when you experience something here, it goes to the brain, but then the experience goes back in the brain to there. So it's a reciprocal relationship. Wow. Anyway, getting a little hero.
No, I would love for you to tell me more about the brain though, because I'll look at some of my diagrams. And to me, I'll only want to, because I'm in the imaginary information industry, I'll use information only that works for someone. So when someone's coming in, say with some condition, or some habit, and they're telling me I do this habit because is going to open up their whole suitcase of beliefs, right? And then look at that word lie in the middle of beliefs. It's like these are the lies that our mind has had to grasp to exist in a reality. And let's up level that that story so that you get into one that serves you. So that's to me where I understand, the brain, it's happening up here. And for a lot of people, when they're talking about, my ongoing thoughts, they're doing gestures like this. And I'll say, well, what if we could just get it to do like this? Or if we could just tell this whole part to shh and go into the back primal brain and hear what it is that you want to hear.
It's psychologists use hypnosis regularly. It's very common.
And I find at these conventions, there's psychologists, neuroscientists, sons of psychics, and a lot of ex-military or retired.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have one last.
The winner is, let's see if it worked, 3824-253. We planned this. Yes.
I better check.
Not really.
Yeah, really.
All right.
Right there, it's way apart. Yeah.